have any advice to such youth?
Well, I think they should really read more. They should read more, and they should listen to the BBC, because I think there's a lot to be said about speaking clearly, and you know, like for instance, something as basic as learning how to use a dictionary. The dictionary has a pronunciation guide, and if you come across a term which you never encountered and you don't quite know how to pronounce it, then the best thing to do is go to the dictionary. Because the dictionary will tell you, you know, like which syllable to stress on. So like, well, I don't want to correct you, but just use an example of something which you said, which a lot of Singaporeans do say, like the word competent. Now, the word competent, the stress is on the first syllable, which is competent. But a lot of Singaporeans say competent. So they put the stress on the wrong syllable, which is on the second syllable. So that's wrong. Now, another term which is often mispronounced, and it's used very, very predominantly, is the word colleague. Now, the word colleague, which is a co-worker, the stress is on the first syllable, so we say colleague, my colleague is ill today. But have you noticed that practically 80% of Singaporeans will put the stress on the second syllable, so they say colleague, my colleague is ill, which is incorrect. So there are many, many such words, and then there are words of foreign origin, like for example, you know, the word sauna, it's Finnish. So because it's Finnish and it's sauna, we go into the sauna. But you hear Singaporeans saying sauna, which is of course wrong again. So you know, there are many, many words, and sometimes, you know, the stress could shift. Like we say photographer, we say photography, but we say photographic. So we will say, my friend the photographer is mounting a photographic exhibition. But a lot of people might say, my friend the photographer who is interested in photography is having a photographic exhibition, which is wrong again. So there's clarity of diction, there's also right pronunciation. And plus, I think these days people watch a lot of American programs, and when you watch a lot of American programs, you end up speaking the American brand of English, which is not Queen's English, which is not received pronunciation. Like for instance, we say advertisement, right? So the stress is on the second syllable, advertisement. But the Americans would say advertisement, so they put the stress on the third syllable. Now, I'm sure you know the word laboratory. So we say we're going to the laboratory, but the Americans say, I will meet you at the physics laboratory. So they put it on the third syllable. Now the thing is, it actually makes a lot of difference. I'll tell you why. You know Shakespeare, right?
Correct.
Shakespeare operates on this thing known as blank verse, which means that, you know, you have scansion. You know, with British poetry and etc., there's a certain sort of rhythm. We call it the metrical scheme to the verse. So, and there's this particular rhythm, and Shakespeare is notoriously difficult to do, because once you learn to say a line in Shakespearean language, sometimes a line may be incomplete, and then somebody then interjects and completes the sentence for you, but keeping the rhythm at the same time. So say, for example, the mostly stress, unstress, or unstress, stress. So if, say, you know, the line is unstress, stress, unstress, stress, unstress, stress, following that pattern, if I end on an unstressed syllable, the person who interjects and comes in to complete my sentence has to stress. So if I am unstressed, my last syllable is unstressed, you jump in stressed. And if I end with a stress, you come in with an unstressed, so we keep the rhythm going. But the thing is, this is contingent upon you being able to scan that line and know which word is stressed and which is unstressed. But the thing is, if you use a different form of pronunciation like the Americans do, and if a word like advertisement happens to be in a line of Shakespeare, which is of course totally unlikely, how can you actually keep the rhythm going, because you're unaware of the metrical scheme? So this is why Americans notoriously cannot perform Shakespeare, because they have a completely different stress pattern. But I think it's important that at least in Singapore, because, you know, we've been a British colony and etc., and that we should actually learn to speak received pronunciation, which is the BBC English. So one of my first words of advice would be for the students to actually watch BBC. You know, you can catch BBC on cable, right? You can actually do that. And the other thing is, if you are unsure about... Oh, you can't hear me? Okay. The thing you're unsure about is, if you're not sure about how to pronounce a particular word, just go to dictionary, because this dictionary has a pronunciation guide.